that one there.
Mm-hmm. It's a breakfast edition of Cards Hub 365. Starting off the day here before the Randy Carricker Show featuring Brooke Grimsley, hosted today by Brendan Schaefer. That starts at 10. But Ryan Fagan and I are here with you to talk about a busy day of Cardinal baseball and really just MLB and all.
Everything,
it's their spring breakout day, spring breakout weekend, if you will. Top prospects are on the stage. But also regular games happening, which I was very wrong about last week and earlier this week when I mentioned it too. But no, it's a early game today, Cardinals spring breakout game, and then tonight Cardinals have another game. But really, I mean, all the focus I feel like is on the future for what we're going to see today.
And I think this is something that baseball's tried to do over the years, is try to highlight what's coming next, because I mean, let's be honest, that's been an issue for the game, is not promoting the next stars. Because what fans get excited about is not even necessarily what's here, but like knowing what's coming, and to be able to sit there and talk with your friends and or at the bar or whatever at the office about the guys that are next. You can say you knew them first. And that's kind of what this does. It gives the fans a chance to see some of the guys that are not just the top 5 prospects in an organization, but all the way down. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and names. And I think recently with the Cardinals' struggles the last few years, you're going to see names today that you are already extremely excited about. People that players that I think some of the best fans in baseball might want on the opening day roster that are not ready yet. But I do think there is a chance in today's game, and we'll get to the lineup here in a second. There are definitely guys on this lineup today that I think we will see in St. Louis this season.
Yeah, this season, and that's the key. I mean, there are guys like Quinn Matthews who are not going to obviously start, but at some point, he's going to, as long as he continues the progress that he made last year and what he showed in the spring, he's going to have a chance to make an impact with the big club this year. And I think this game, this thing that baseball is doing, is just trying to give these guys their own stage, right? So it's not, hey, this guy's batting in the 4th inning of a spring training game in the middle of March. It's, hey, let's put the spotlight on. Let's talk about it. And if you go pull up MLB.com, there's 50 pages worth of content on the spring breakout game. So they're pushing it hard. MLB Network's talking about it. I mean, and they're just trying to show here's what's coming up. Some cases sooner than others.
Early game today for the Cardinals in this, and the Cardinals tweeted out on their Twitter account, tweeted out the lineup earlier today. You see it there on the screen. Chase Davis is in left, JJ Weatherholt at short, Thomas Saggese at third, Jimmy Crooks is behind the plate, Leonardo Bernal DHing, Cesar Pareto at second, Nathan Church in center, Joshua Baez in right, and then RJ Yeager at first. All eyes are going to be on Quinn Matthews getting the start in this one, just because, again, we mentioned that when he was sent down to minor league camp, a lot of people thought that this was way too early. A lot of fans were upset that it was early, but the Cardinals, I think, are just being realistic. They're being honest.
Right.
Quinn Matthews, they see as a starter. He was not going to get those innings pitching spring training games in Jupiter. He was not going to get stretched out to be a starter. They needed him to go and work on that elsewhere and say, hey, you know what, go to Memphis and do that, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think part of it too, you take away the potential conversations if he sticks around in spring training and does well. Because I mean, what this shows is the Cardinals had no plans of Quinn Matthews starting the season in the rotation, which is fine. I mean, he went a long way last year through the minors. It was, I've talked to enough rookies and minor leaguers that when you're jumping levels, like, we don't look at it. We look at it and it's like different lines in the Baseball Reference box score, but it's shifting cities, it's shifting teammates. It's a lot. And I think what they wanted was just to give him a chance to kind of catch his breath a little bit, say, okay, this is what we're going to do. You're going to be up with the big club for a little bit, get a taste of it. And then our plan for you is a long-term plan. And it's not about, March 27th and whether you're going to be on that roster. So I'm moving him down. It gives him a chance to get set up for this game, which is an honor to start the game. I mean, you look across baseball, and the guys as the starting pitchers in these efforts are big names. They're on Baseball America's top 100. They're on MLB Pipeline's top 100. So I think it was, I mean, even though Cardinals fans would have loved to seen him maybe throw a couple of more spring starts, I think this was the best thing for the plan that they had for him.
Yeah, I saw yesterday. I can't remember if it was on MLB's Twitter or Instagram, but as you mentioned, they have just been going wild with promotion of this, but it did show all of the top 100, like the guys that are going to be in all of these games today. So
it was like 70 guys from the top 100.
Yeah. So it's a lot. I'm trying to scroll through their Twitter as we talk here to find that number for that. But again, I would just say it's a Friday, there's a lot of great sports on TV today because it's one of the most fun college basketball days of the year.
Yeah.
As you have a lot of games and a lot of good teams playing against each other that are probably for the most part already clinched a spot, but just it's a chance to see really good basketball on a Friday afternoon. But you can also flip over to MLB because I believe all these games too. Like MLB is letting you watch these if you go to the MLB app and you go that and you're able to sit there and watch those games too. So you can watch a lot of MLB games. We were talking about just kind of, there's not that big matchup this year. There's not that there's no Paul Skenes this year. There's no Jackson. And that's what I was going to say, that last year when they did this, when they announced it, I don't think they knew that they were going to, they were hoping. It's one of those things that you kind of hope for, but I don't think they realized they were going to have Paul Skenes versus Jackson Holliday as one of the very first at bats of this whole process.
And I guarantee you that one of the pieces of content on MLB.com are the 10 best potential prospect matchups, and a lot of them are pitchers versus hitters. And I guarantee you they're going to do their best to make every single one of these 10 happen. With the Cardinals, it's Thomas White for the Marlins, who's a lefty that's nasty, right? He's one of the very best left-handed pitching prospects in the game. He's pitching for the Marlins, and JJ Weatherholt is playing for the Cardinals. So I guarantee that matchup is happening, right? Some of the other ones, Bubba Chandler with the Pirates, and he's not Paul Skenes, and he's probably not Jared Jones, but he is right behind, right? He's a guy that was a two-way player for a long time. I mean, even, because me, I think of things in terms of baseball cards. Even some of his first baseball cards were of him hitting, right? But he's kind of focused on pitching, and he's really taken off. And I mean, when you look at the Pirates and you try not to think about their ownership, which I know is hard to do, but you think about the potential that they have, and you have Skenes and Jones and Bubba Chandler. I mean, it's not insane to think that in the next 3 years, that could be one of the 2 or 3 best rotation trios in the National League. And I think having Skenes go in last year's breakout game, having Bubba Chandler start this one, is fascinating to me. And I think that's why they're trying to put them on the stage. But anyway, Bubba Chandler is facing Aiden Miller, the shortstop with the Phillies, who was a high draft pick. And they're going to try to get everything in there because they want the players or the fans that are at the games, but they also want to be able to talk about it. Let's be honest. They're going to show 16 different breakdowns of these at bats between the top pitchers and the top hitters.
It's funny because I just brought up this article too that you're talking about, and so many of these are position players versus position players, which it's one of those ridiculous talking points that you get over the years. Yeah, it's the same thing where it's like, oh, you got 2 Cy Young pitchers going against each other. No, they're starting for their respective teams.
Right.
They're facing the opposing lineups, or it's Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. Never once are they going to be on the field for a play with each other.
Right, they're not interacting.
Their teams are playing against each other. They are the stars for their teams. And so many of these are, shortstop for shortstop, but you do have, the Cubs versus Dodgers. They played their breakout game last night. Cade Horton and Josu DePaula. You want to take a crack at that name?
I do not.
Okay. But that one, as you mentioned, the Weatherholt and White is one of the few batter versus pitcher ones that you're going to get. And hey, if you want to see how well Weatherholt does against a lefty, that's Thomas White as well. So,
yeah, I mean,
there you go. Yeah,
it's a really good challenge. I mean, look, when you're that young and you're that talented, everything's a challenge. You're going to try to prove yourself, but I mean, it's a chance, and it's funny to think like so much of what people's impressions of this kid might be based on one or two at bats, but I mean, that's the reality of it.
It's also one of the cool stories that you get through baseball, because these two, this won't be the first time they've ever faced each other. Ever. Yeah. They played the Florida State League last in 24. I would assume they've crossed paths at some point, but it's those stories where you kind of, I mean, as you get players of these age, and I think we are making a much, or at least it seems like there's been a boom in trying to watch college baseball. I think because now, like I have Hulu TV. I go to sports on Hulu TV any given day right now, and it is just so many college games up there, and it's just that's what I've been doing now. Is if there's nothing that I want to watch, I'll just pop on a college game. I have no idea who these guys are. I don't know much about. I see the top 25 come out every week. I know who the top. Historically who the best programs are in college baseball, but you turn something like that on, you might not remember any of the names you're watching, but you're watching guys who are, a few steps away from the next biggest level and are playing at a spot that, only 1% of guys that play baseball get to begin with in Division I baseball. And it's just, that just shows how much more of a step it is to play at a game like what they're playing in today.
Yeah. You talk about college teammates, and, you brought this up as we were talking before we went on. Chandler Simpson, who's the Rays. I mean, this kid's like, he's insanely fast.
How fast? Like, okay, so I've seen the highlights of it. Like where
he's 0.5% percentile.
Like where, like for like a Billy Hamilton type guy, like
he's in that category.
He's like at faster.
And I don't say
than
that lightly.
Yeah, I mean, because I think like Mason Wynn is fast, Victor Scott is fast. Like those guys are, but this with Chandler Simpson, right? That's like faster than Victor Scott. Like
he's in the Ellie De La Cruz.
Is Ellie De La Cruz? I mean, Ellie De La Cruz is much faster than Victor Scott.
One time. Well, I mean, I don't know if they've ever raced, but when De La Cruz came up, I was in the Reds clubhouse and kind of asking guys, "Have you ever raced him?" Just to see, and they all just laughed, like, "No." Or if they had, like, "Yeah, I didn't win." And these are Major League Baseball players. They don't want to admit that they lost,
right?
But I mean, even like fast guys are like, "Yeah, he's just another level." And Chandler Simpson, another level. Anyway, he was teammates with Christian Campbell, who is the prospect for the Red Sox, who is, I mean, you talk about prospects that have really taken the jump over the last year and a half, right? He's a guy that they liked. He was, drafted him out of Georgia Tech. He flew through the Red Sox system last year, and he's up into, I mean, depending on what ranking you look at, but I mean, he's top 5 prospect in all baseball. And, speaking of him, the Red Sox played their breakout game yesterday, and it was absolute best case scenario because Campbell homered, Marcelo Meyer homered, and Roman Anthony homered. And Anthony is the number 1 prospect in baseball, right?
Yeah.
And the Red Sox, when you talk about franchises that struggled recently, but have hope because they have a good core of young talent, the Red Sox are right up at the top of that list. And to have those 3 guys, these top prospects, all homer in the breakout game, when they kind of had the stage to themselves because they played one of the games yesterday, and that's best case scenario. That's what every fan base is hoping for. That's what every front office is hoping for, because that's buying you, I don't want to say goodwill, but kind of.
I have the fastest times last year, 90-foot, the 90-foot speed from last year. So fastest times last year, Victor Scott is 4th on that list.
I knew he'd be way up there. Yeah.
Running 90 feet in 3.74 seconds.
Who was number 1?
Ellie De La Cruz at 3.72. So
it's
that
insane.
that is how close they are to each other. And you're saying, I mean, this guy that we've seen highlights of with the Rays this year, I mean, again, it's beating out ground balls too, or like just beating out infield ground balls. And that's exciting. By the way, all the top 8 guys, fastest guys, 90-foot speed, all left-handed hitters.
So they're even getting down the line.
Yeah.
they don't have to go that extra.
It's not until you get to Byron Buxton and Bobby Witt Jr. that you get a righty out of the out of the box.
Man,
Bobby Witt Jr. has the fastest sprint speed in all of baseball.
Yeah, I was gonna say he has to be in the top 10.
Yeah,
Byron Buxton, not to go off on a can we just have him healthy? Right? Can he be healthy this year? Like, if I had a wish,
there's a list of guys you could do that
and
for.
He would be. It would be Buxton and it would be Mike Trout.
Yes,
like I just want to see one more season of Trout healthy, right? And because we're getting to the point that in his 30s, are we legitimately are we going to get that? And if we do get it, is he going to give us the type of season? And the answer is probably no. And that makes me sad to say, but between guys like Trout and guys like Buxton and. Not like I said, I didn't mean to go off on like a
no. I mean, but where would you throw a guy like Giancarlo Stanton on that list if you were writing an article of like a starting 9 that you wanted to see
the Eric Davis All-Stars,
right?
That what we're calling
like
it?
If you wanted to see a healthy 160 game season out of that, like would John at this point in his career would Giancarlo Stanton be on that list for you?
Like. He should be, but probably not. Like, is that bad to say? Like, because I think he's.
Sorry, it's 9:20 in the morning. I need some caffeine. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I guess without having looked at it, we really need to talk about these things before we actually come on air, right? And start talking about things.
This is what's fun about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, it would be interesting to see. Right. But I mean, like you just don't, I don't know this.
I just want, I want in the moment, instant reaction out of you, Ryan. That's what I want. And I want it out of our chat line too on the YouTube chat. I want their ideas on this too. I want their suggestions
with
on
Trout
who
and
they
Buxton,
want to see
you
healthy.
feel like it's possible they could give you a season. With Stanton, it doesn't feel possible.
But I think the question is, I mean, just the things that he can do though, like when he's healthy, just how hard he still hits a baseball.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, seeing that for 160 games.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, the ball coming in, it's him and Shohei as far as like how hard the ball's coming off bats.
Yeah. I mean, because there's no reason if he stayed healthy, he couldn't push 60 home runs again. I mean, he was close. He hit 58 that one year?
Right.
Yeah. He could. It would be interesting. Yeah, we're gonna have to come up with a list of the
absolutely
the Eric Davis All-Stars, just guys we want to see. Just give us a healthy season.
Monday on Sports Hub STL, plan to have an article out with some potential predictions for starting 9 for the Cardinals because it's getting there. I mean, we're less than 2 weeks away now from a holiday in St. Louis, opening day, and it's we're getting to the point where it's okay. We see who's performing. We see who's getting sent down. We see who the Cardinals and who Ollie seems to like in certain spots. And it's really been interesting the past week now with Jordan Walker out to kind of see the moving parts in the outfield and see, okay, we're going to try Victor Scott in left today. Lars is going to go in right. And you're just kind of seeing the moving parts of what could look like. That I think now and also we're far enough in and we haven't heard any of the whispers of a Nolan Arenado trade.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, hey, looks like he's a Redbird on March 27th. So I think now it's like, all right, what's this lineup going to look like?
Right.
If we want to, if they're going to go out there and be competitive this season.
Yeah. And part of it's like, what's it going to look like when there's a right-handed starter? And what's it going to look like when it's a left-handed starter? Because it could be different. At this point,
I wonder how much, because I think Ollie has shown over the years he likes to go the right, left.
Yeah.
So I don't, and that's I still, and we've talked about this. Like I go Burleson over Nootbaar as far as my rankings of players on the team, but I'm also
I think Burleson has to play.
And but I'm also
he's a DH.
I'm also realistic of the fact that The Cardinals don't see it that way. So when I put this together, it's not my wish list. It's what I actually predict is going to be opening day.
And I guess the reason I brought it up is when you think about Nolan Gorman, right? Because if Arenado's gone, he's playing third every day, and they're gonna commit to that. Are they going to commit to give him, 600 plate appearances at second? I don't know. It's different when it's more crowded, and so that's really when I say that, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Is it going to be like, is there going to be symbolic opening day lineup? That's a great question. I mean, I know you asked us to do that, and I'm still.
It's not till Monday. I haven't done it yet either. I've thought about it. I've thought about it.
Over it, right?
I know I've thought about it, and I really am. I'm like, as I sit here and I think about it, it's the who's batting second just fills out so much of it. Do you go Donovan?
Yeah.
Or do you go Nootbaar batting second? And you don't have Goldschmidt to just pop in there right away.
Right.
So I feel like they're going to go Lars second and Donovan fifth.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah.
And then from there, God, 6 through 9. I mean, 6 through 6 and 7. I guess 8, 9 is catcher, center fielder.
A lot of lefties in that lineup.
Right. Which gives you just Luke and Baker on the bench as your right-handed.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see.
Other news around baseball. It's we talked about we talked about Chandler Simpson of the Rays. Rays are making news. They came out with the statement yesterday that they're just dropping out of building a stadium in Tampa. There's been pressure for them to sell the team, and now there are what's the future of that going to be? I mean, is it Nashville? Is it Orlando? I saw a report today that there's a group in Orlando that's putting together a bid. To buy them.
There is that one. Barry Larkin is attached. I love how these organizations all feel the need to like attach names. I think that situation is. I mean, it's there's the biggest headache for baseball. The biggest headache over the past decade plus. And there's lots of little things that has gone wrong, and there's lots of little things that has annoyed, but the stadium situations in Oakland and Tampa Bay have just been this constant. And I think what you've seen, the way it played out with Oakland and the A's, is not what anybody wanted. Right. Baseball didn't want it. Oakland didn't want it. Sacramento probably didn't. I mean, they're not mad, but Vegas, does Vegas want it?
Yes.
I mean, yes and no.
Do you think they want an expansion team, or do you think
I think they would much rather have an expansion team. I think you saw what like the Golden Knights did. Like, it's their team, right? It's not. And I just think more and more. I just think that any sport team, regardless of already established or expansion, it's just a tourist attraction. Vegas, like I don't see. Like that's the Raiders. Yeah, I mean, the Raiders now, it's not so much they have 8 home games a year, is there's 8 opportunities for tourists to come in from other cities to watch their team play football. I think the NFL is different, though. I agree with you with the NFL. Yeah. I think it's because I think we look at Vegas from the outside and we think tourism, but there's a sizable population there, right? And they're proud of being from Vegas. You look at, I mean, there was that group of baseball players, Bryce Harper and Chris Bryant and all these guys, they're very Vegas proud, right? And I think that's one of the reasons that the Golden Knights did so well, because it was their team. And that's what we'll see how the A's are. I mean, if they're good, it'll matter. But anyway,
and that's where I think, where baseball, it's a 2-3 day trip now that you're kind of looking at.
Yeah.
I have been to Vegas one time. That was Super Bowl last year. The next time I go back is going to be when the Cardinals play the Vegas Athletics or whatever they call themselves. Like that's not.
They better keep the name.
That's not a town like that I'm trying to go spend 3 nights in. And
Vegas is fun, man.
I'm not a Vegas guy.
You could be there are different kind of Vegas people. Like you can have your own experience.
Yeah, but it'll be going to watch a Major League Baseball game.
Yeah. But anyway, the whole point being is because that played out so poorly, and baseball didn't try to force John Fisher to sell, which, let's be honest, if they would have tried to force him to sell and there was a new owner, things would have gone totally differently. And I think that debacle is why you've seen the pressure on the Rays ownership to sell coming from the other owners. Manfred, has been leaked. He's pressuring Sternberg to sell. And I think that's part of it. They want to avoid that same type of thing where an owner sidetracks the way things are going. To have the St. Petersburg mayor say just flat out, we are not negotiating with this ownership group anymore. If they want to go somewhere else, that's great. If baseball wants to be here, we want baseball to be here, but we're not dealing with these people anymore. And I will say that if it does come down to potentially moving, obviously Orlando is close by and there's an established, Florida has an established baseball culture because of spring training, but Nashville is ready for a team.
Yes.
Nashville is 100% ready for a team. That ownership group, I've talked to the people not extensively, but I've had conversations with folks that are involved with that movement, and they would love to have an expansion team, but they want to put the pieces in place to have a baseball team, and they do not care what form it comes in. They would be ready, to host, to facilitate the Rays moving much more quickly than any other city. And I think that, if it comes down to it, it's not unreasonable to see that happening.
And with them building the new football stadium there now too, that's going to be another hotbed of sports in the next 5 years if they're able to get a baseball team. Yeah, and I think they are seeing this kind of all play out, being like, because there's nothing else.
100%. Because Manfred has said they're not going to handle expansion until they deal with these stadium situations. Right. So if nothing else,
that and the potential lockout you have too. I mean, there's you have that to throw in there as well. So Cardinals tonight, as we mentioned the spring breakout game that starts earlier today. Tonight's 5:10 start time, Cardinals and Mets. That is up in Port St. Lucie. Cardinals have got 2 hits on Wednesday. They got 3 hits on Thursday. Today they face Kota Senga.
You can start getting hits. I mean, it's not as early as when you first brought this up, and I was like, it's not even March yet.
That's where I've been with this too.
I know, but at some point you got to hit. Right?
Yeah,
and at some point you got to hit.
Michael McGreevy on the mound for the Cardinals. So that's also worth watching.
Yeah,
because right now having the best spring of any of the starters, is he going to force his way into the rotation to start the year?
Yeah, that would be fascinating, because I think you look at, one thing to keep in mind is we haven't really, and I'm not trying to raise speculation, but just thinking out loud, when you look at teams like the Yankees losing Garrett Cole, and he's not the first pitcher they've lost this year, a pitcher like Eric Fetty starts to become more of an option. And if McGreevy shows that he can be a piece from opening day, right, from the opening day rotation, then is Eric Fetty more available now than he was 3 weeks ago? And that's just it's interesting to see how it plays out.
How do you address that? Do you, when you reach out to them, because Matt's is another one that I think they would be trying to move. If you do and you say, hey, see you guys lost Gill, see you guys lost Cole, do you call them, you say which one, or do you say what would you give us for Matt's? And they say, well, we want Fetty, and you go, well, what would you how do you think that plays out?
I mean, first of all, they know, right? Everyone knows the Cardinal situation. The other GMs do. I guarantee you, every GM of a contending team in baseball has the Cardinals somewhere in their plan B or C.
Right
now, whether it ever comes to fruition, and as a team with the assets that could be traded, you don't necessarily want to go out and make first contact, right? You kind of want, because that puts you, as far as negotiations, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, as far as negotiation go, that is one of those where who's the more attractive of the two pieces?
Yeah.
In something like that, both in the last year of deals. 7.5 million, 10 million. I mean,
it's not that big of a difference.
To the Yankees.
Right.
It's not that big of a difference.
Right.
Performance wise, Fetty has a much more successful recent track record.
Well, and just
and with health too. With that. That's where I think that's what it's like. You want Mats? No, we'll take Fetty.
Yeah, I mean, so it'll be interesting to see. You know, I mean, and when guys like if McGreevy shows that he can be that guy, that that opens things up a little bit.
Yeah. So a lot to watch today. What is your rank? Because I know you're a big college basketball guy. So what is your like? Do you have that set? Like, do you have what your eyes are going to be on today?
I have not put together my viewing schedule for today. But got work, so that's number one.
Oh, okay,
right?
Yeah,
and then we'll pay attention to the other stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be fun. I mean, this time of year is just it's almost too much, but it's not, right? Because it's never enough. Because you don't have to give your attention fully to everything, and that's what's great about it. Because there's so many things that can kind of draw the eyeballs and pay attention to.
I heard the saying earlier today. They made February 2 days shorter so they can make March just a little bit longer for all the sports they're putting
start a little sooner.
We got the Randy Carricker show. Brooke and Brendan and Rock, they are in today. That's starting up at 10 o'clock. Lots going on today at Sports Hub STL. Just follow it all right here. Set your notifications. Subscribe to the YouTube page. That way you can be ready when we go live with whatever it is. We are whether it's post-game shows, breaking news, all kinds of things. We are your home right here on Sports Hub STL. And Cards Hub 365 is brought to you every day by Gray Bar. If you're still suffering from supply chain issues and they're disrupting your operations, have no fear. Gray Bar has you covered, and you can rely on their nationwide logistics network to get what you need, where they need, when they need to get there, and all within budget. Gray Bar, a trusted and leading North American distributor of electrical communications, data networking, and industrial products. They literally support products of any industry. It doesn't matter. Just one clear mission: to serve as that vital link in the supply chain, adding value for customers and suppliers with innovative solutions and services. So to start an order, go to graybar.com and fix those supply chain issues with Gray Bar, your distributor for electrical and data comm needs. That's going to do it for us today.
Yep.
We baseball next week. Real baseball in Japan.
Yes.
Cubs and
so
Dodgers. I can't wake up to watch baseball. That's the I love when they do. I love when there are games, whether it's these games, whether it's MLB games to start the season in Australia or Asia, wherever they do it, or World Baseball Classic. I love waking up and knowing that baseball will be on my TV at 4 a.m. when I wake up.
It's fantastic. I mean, not to keep talking, but I mean, I just wrote something for Opta Analyst, one of the sites I write for, and like they looking at the series and like this Japan, starting the games in Japan with these guys. I mean, Yamamoto, obviously Ohtani, Sasaki, Managa, and Suzuki.
Yeah,
these 5 guys. I mean, this is setting up to be. Yeah. Maybe we can talk about this next week. This is setting up to be potentially the single best season ever in terms of production by players born in Japan.
Yeah, I know.
And
it's going to be fun. That
awesome.
atmosphere is going to be amazing there. One more thing before we go, just in the comment section, Mr. Baggins chimes in saying a salary cap is needed, tired of big markets taking all the top stars. And then Dr. Zoom immediately replying to him saying the Dodgers didn't get Phil Maton. We did.
Point counterpoint.
Love that to wrap up the show for today. He is Ryan Fagan. I'm Joe Roderick. This has been Cards Hub 365, powered by Gray Bar.